There's an old saying in Tennessee, I know it's in Texas, probably in Tennessee, that says, fool me once, shame on you. If fool me, we can't get fooled again.
So let's talk about something that is about to hit every single American household, and it's not missiles, not bombs. It's your wallet. Because if you've been watching the news the last 40 hours, you'll notice something weird. Every channel, every pundit, every political talking head is suddenly repeating the same line: short-term pain for long-term gain. Short-term pain for long-term gain. They keep saying it. Short-term pain for long-term gain. All of them are saying it. Have you heard that yet? Because I got some clips I'm going to show you where they're saying it over and over again. The same way the leftists did, right? The same way they did, we made fun of it. But now they're the right side. When every network suddenly starts reading the same script, you should probably start asking one question. What exactly are they preparing us for? How bad is it really going to get? Because what's coming next is not small. Let's start off with the data, okay? Let me show you right here. Brent crude oil, right, just jumped up to $103 a barrel. That's an 11 to 12% spike in a matter of days. Here's another matter of days, okay? And historically, when oil crosses that line, the $100 threshold, something happens every single time. Gas prices explode. Matter of fact, I just filled up my truck and it was $80. Usually it's about $53, $55. It's $80. But with gas prices, a lot of people don't. And I've heard a lot of the MAGA, you know, and I voted for Trump 5 times, dude. Trump 2016 to 2020. I know the leftist viewers that are watching probably hated him. Then I didn't. I loved him. Thought he was great. This one now, I don't know who this guy is, but I hear MAGA saying, "Oh man, a small price to pay. We had to. They were 2 weeks away from making a nuke." Really? Because I've been hearing that since I was a little kid. If you're bombing the shit out of a place and they don't launch a nuke, you don't kill all their leadership. At what point would be the time to send a nuke, right? Not just when everything's peaceful. It would be right freaking now. Secondly, I keep hearing the MAGA crowd saying, well, we got to free the Iranian people. Dude, when did I ever hear you talking about saving Iranian people? Before now, before you were told that statement by this administration. I never heard you say that. We used to make fun of the leftists for putting the Ukraine flag over the profile picture. I see MAGA with Iranian flags over the profile picture. What is going on? What is going on? That's why I quit the left-right paradigm, dude. I'm a free-thinking man. Free-thinking man. And if you're watching this, you're not always going to agree with me, and that's fine. I expect you not to. I expect you to be a free thinker too. And you're not always going to agree with me. I don't expect you to. And I hope you don't. But the thing is that they're talking about just the gas prices. Gas prices explode, right? You know what comes next? Food prices, shipping costs. So everything that you buy is about to skyrocket. Inflation explodes because oil isn't just gasoline. It's transportation, it's trucking, it's agriculture, it's plastics, it's refrigeration. Oil is the bloodstream of the freaking global economy. And when that bloodstream gets expensive, everything downstream gets expensive.
Some relief for folks at the pump. Do we expect this to last weeks, or do you think, with the mitigation that the administration is putting in place right now, that we should see the gas prices start to come back down?
Yeah, I think it's of order weeks. I would say in the worst case, but it's weeks, not months.
Sure. I've heard that one before. 2 weeks to stop the spread, turn into 2 years of my life lost. Now, this is where things get interesting, guys. There's actually a rough formula economists use. Every $10 increase in oil prices costs the average American household about $250 to $300. Okay. So if we do some quick math, Oil was sitting around $70 earlier this year. Now we're already over 100. That's a $30 increase, okay? Which means the average American family is looking roughly at $750,000 to $1,500 more per year in cost. And that's just the direct impact. Now, we're not including once trucking costs goes up, grocery goes up, shipping goes up, construction goes up, flights go up, everything goes up. And if oil pushes to 120, 130, which analysts are already warning about, we're looking at, $2,000 to $2,500 per household. Again, that's roughly framing it, because that's not including electricity, that's not including groceries, that's not including eating out, consumables you may buy. All of those things are going to go too. So you're going to look at maybe $5,000 or $10,000 more per household, right? Now, the weird part is, instead of explaining that honestly, because we're getting lied to, we're always getting lied to, the media has decided to start preparing people psychological, like psyops, short-term pain for long-term gain. The phrase is getting pushed around across multiple networks, and I don't care if it's CNN, Fox, MSNBC, or whatever. Whenever everybody starts saying the same messaging, repeating the same thing, that's not journalism, that's narrative management. Again, remember when we used to make fun of CNN because every anchor would read the same script? Yeah. Now the right-wing media ecosystem is doing the exact same thing. It's comical. It's comical. I'm going to play it for you.
This is a short-term disruption for the long-term gain.
Short-term pain for the long-term gain.
Short-term pain be for long-term gain.
We're going to have some short-term pain with long-term gain.
Short-term pay for a long-term gain.
What's the long-term gain? Freeing the Iranians? Stopping them from that 2 weeks it's took 30 years for them to get to? Every 2 weeks.
Some short-term pain, yes, but we've got some long-term gain. Short-term spike for a long-term gain.
Some short-term pain for American consumers.
We may have to deal with that in the short term.
Short-term and temporary.
Temporary short-term pain.
It's going to suck in the short term.
Some short-term pain.
Short-term pain. We have to focus on the short term.
Short-term.
Short-term.
Short-term. Short-term and long-term.
Short-term blip. Hopefully this is a short-term pain. Short-term is highly outweighed of the long-term benefits.
And this is just mainstream media. I've also seen all the conservative pundits, the ones that are bought and paid. They get the invitations to Mar-a-Lago. I've never gotten an invitation to Mar-a-Lago, not that I even care to have one. But those boys don't want to mess up that invitation down there.
Short-term pain for the long-term gain.
Short-term sacrifice for a long-term gain.
Yeah. Wow. Narrative management, psychological operations at the forefront. Now, this is where things get more interesting. Because if you look at Trump's older post, the message used to be very different. Okay, back in 2024, the argument was oil prices are rising, the world is crashing. Now the message has shifted. Short-term oil spikes are a small price to pay. Those are two very different messages. You also see that only fools would think differently. I done got called many things because I'm not buying the bait lately. But I'm not a cult follower. I believe in ideology. I believe in the Constitution. I want to have freedom. I want to pay less taxes. I don't want to save the rest of the world. Let them save themselves. It's incredible. Also heard, do you remember during the Biden administration when the oil prices went up and the leftists were saying, oh, the president doesn't control the gas prices. Now the right saying the same thing. It's fun. It's like either they're wearing a red hat or a face diaper. But those two extreme sides practice the same thing. They say the same messaging. I had people email me last night talking about I was using misinformation. That's a leftist term, MAGA. That's a leftist term. It's all the same. It's funny. But high oil prices, what it means is economic failure. Okay. His first message. Okay. That's what it meant. Economic failure. High oil prices are now a necessary sacrifice for him. It's a pretty big pivot, wouldn't you say, in a year? Now, the other thing is that everybody says it's a short term. Well, they're preparing until September. And I'm going to play something else here in a little bit that's going to make you think even further. But look at this. This is just one place. Jeez. It's almost a mortgage payment to fill up the truck. You know what I'm saying? Wow. Now, let's talk about something else Americans don't realize. This isn't just a military war. It's an economic war. Russia has announced it's evaluating cutting off energy supply to Europe. And if that happens, global oil demand will skyrocket. And supply and demand costs will go up even further. Europe suddenly starts scrambling for alternative energy sources, which means they start buying oil anywhere they freaking can. It'll drive the global price up even higher. And remember, oil markets are global. Even if America produces oil domestically, the price is set internationally. So it's like now the higher prices you're paying now is not because of the oil in Iran. We're not buying freaking oil from Iran. That oil's been here months, maybe a year, but you're paying what the market value is. Also, another side note is that the Strait of Hormuz, 20% of global oil passes through it. So if it's threatened, it obviously instantly spikes. Here's Putin stating these things here.
25th of April, plan to impose additional restrictions on Russian LNG and energy, all the way to imposing a complete ban on such supplies in 2028. In this regard, I've already instructed the government to evaluate the possibility of stopping energy supplies to the European market without waiting for the door to be shut in our face. And those volumes will be shifted to other markets that are more interesting and promising to us. Right now, the market situation is developing in such a way that if we make this transition right now, if we shift to markets that really need increased supplies, we will get a stable foothold there in markets.
So something people really aren't thinking about is that countries like Iran, Russia, and China have spent years preparing for economic warfare. Just like the U.S. runs war simulations, they do too, guys. If they can't beat America militarily, then what do? They target the economy. And there are multiple ways to do that. Obviously, oil supply disruption, shipping disruption, drone warfare that forces expensive defenses. If you look at what's happening right now, we're shooting down cheap drones with $1 million missiles. Okay, so it's a war of attrition. They're trying, it's attrition warfare. You make your enemy spend more resources than you do, and it works. I don't know if you guys saw this, is that they've also started, they bought a bunch of inflatable, like military vehicles, whether it's tanks or helicopters, and go Google this. These things look real. They blow them up and they're huge. And on radar, they're picked up as what the image are. And so America has been bombing these things. They also painted aircraft like in a field, and America was bombing them. So they were eating up, $1 million missiles with paint and balloons. War of attrition warfare. Again, going back to the price gouging angle, that should make everybody angry, is the gasoline sitting in America, gas stations right now, was bought weeks ago. Hell, the same gas that's up today that I filled my truck up with today was sitting in that gas station last week. And most of it probably came from domestic refineries. It didn't magically become more expensive overnight, which means when gas prices jump 60 cents in a week, it's not supply shock. It's price gouging. Companies know the news cycle is screaming war in the Middle East. So what do? They raise prices because they know people will assume it's inevitable. And then, on top of that, we got all politicians, swamp creatures like Lindsey Graham, going on television saying, I'm going back to South Carolina and asking families to send their sons and daughters to the Middle East.
All those who died in this endeavor called Epic Fury, you're protecting America, because I believe with all my heart and soul, if the regime in Iran still stands when this is over, we've made a mistake.
Yeah, so if you die there, it's honorable death.
To our allies, step up, get our air bases out of Spain. They're not reliable. Move all those airplanes to a country that would let us use them when we're threatened by a regime like Iran. To our friends in Spain, man, you have lost your way. I don't want to do business with you anymore. I want our air bases out of Spain into a country that will let us use them. To our Arab friends, I've tried to help you construct a new Mideast. You need to up your game here. I can't go to South Carolina and say we're fighting and you won't publicly fight. What you're doing behind the scenes, that has to stop. The double dealing of the Arab world when it comes to this stuff needs to end. I go back to South Carolina, I'm asking them to send their sons and daughters over to the Mideast. What I want you
Excuse me. Why is a senator from South Carolina acting like he's a Pentagon recruiter? Why is his entire political career apparently dedicated to sending Americans into the Middle East for wars? Because the reality is most Americans are tired of it. We spent 20 years in Afghanistan. We spent trillions of dollars in Iraq. And suddenly we're talking about doing it again. It's insane. Vote this man out. Did you guys see they've made these stickers like the ones with the Biden? Incredible. Everything comes full circle. Anyway, let's see what Charlie Kirk said. Okay, this is back in April of 2025. It's going unnoticed because so much other news is happening, but the war drums are beating again in DC. The warmongers worry this is their last chance to get the white whale they've been chasing for 30 years in an all-out regime change war against Iran. A new Middle East war would be a catastrophic mistake. Our military stockpiles are depleted from 3 years of backing Ukraine. Our efforts to reshore manufacturing has only just begun and will take years to bear fruit. War would worsen our already immense deficit in national debt. Iran is larger than Iraq, Syria, and Afghanistan combined. A war would not be easy and could be easily become a calamity. Thanks to President Trump's restraint during his first term, America has a golden opportunity to put away from the Middle East quagmires for good. We shouldn't throw that opportunity away so that DC has-beens can feel tough by sending young Americans to die yet again. And I agree with Charlie. I do. Guys, the reality is the war might not hit American cities, although it might with sleeper cells, but it will hit American wallets at the very least. Gas, food, shipping, flights, everything. And if oil continues climbing the way it has over the last week, it's about 2 weeks Americans are going to feel it everywhere. It's going to get real bad. If this goes on for another 2 weeks, I check back to this video in 2 weeks, it's going to be bad. At the pump, at the grocery store, on every bill you get. So the next time you hear someone say short-term pain for long-term gain, you might want to ask them a question. Short-term pain for who? And long-term gain for who exactly? This is Jack with Black Scout Survival. Remember to stay frosty, stay strapped, stay dangerous. Black Scout out.
2, 3. 4, 2.